hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer Frank Pace, with retired New York City firefighter and Vietnam vet Billy O'Connor.
Frankie, my brother, how the hell are you this morning, pal?
How the hell are you? Where the hell are you?
I'm up in beautiful Pine Mountain Club, man, about an hour and a half from where you are, down in Pasadena.
Yeah, let me explain to our audience here what's happening. The studio's closed up. Our Pasadena studio is closed up. We're non-essential workers, so we can't be in the same place right now. So we'll have to do this remotely.
Besides that, you're a walking Petri dish anyway. I don't want to be anywhere near you.
Oh, Petri dish or Petri dish?
Petri dish, Petri dish.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Let's call the whole thing off. Man, I tell you, it's bad. 3,000 people died yesterday. 3,000. And
not good.
LA is a disaster. I don't know what it is the rest of the country, but man, I mean, it's bad.
It is bad. I think Derek's with us. Are you, Derek? Can you show us? There you are. You're in downtown Pacoima or something.
Pacoima? How dare you?
Pacoima? By the way,
I'm in sexy San Dimas.
Yeah, well, sexy
San Dimas.
Sexy San Dimas. Why don't you get yourself more on camera instead of having to be on the bottom half of the camera?
Well,
I can't see it all.
You know, Frank, the thing is, I'm working the boards over here, and you guys are just sitting there hanging out.
We're not hanging out, really. We got pants on.
So you say.
How's your waggle, Frank? How's your waggle? Your waggle okay?
Yeah, it's waggling okay. So, what do you want to talk about today, Billy?
I don't know, my brother. We don't have a guest. We could have guests, of course, but we don't want to get contaminated.
We'll try to get a guest next week. We have a guest scheduled for next week. Armin Catane is scheduled for next week, but we got to figure out, how to get him on. So we're just trying to do this today on Saturday and see if it works out before we commit to a guest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, let's do a dry run. Armin is he's not a Pulitzer Prize winner, right? But he is a bestseller author.
He's a 10-time Emmy Award winner.
10 times?
Yeah.
Wow.
At least.
Wow.
How the hell did that come to pass?
Well, how the hell did that come to pass, you say?
Yeah, what did he win 10 Emmys for?
His reporting on CBS Sports, his TV reporting.
Oh, so
in the television category, yeah. He was an on-site reporter for CBS, HBO, and he won a lot of those awards while working for them.
So he's into broadcast journalism, really. I thought he was just strictly a writer.
No, he's a broadcast journalist for sure. There's no money in being a writer. But there's money. Money in broadcast journalism.
I didn't know that. I got duped.
You got duped, and you're continuing to get duped as well. So we'll hopefully have him on next week to promote his new HBO special, Tiger.
You know what's interesting? I went to school. You know when you're watching the football games nowadays, they got Aaron Andrews down on the sidelines with Fox.
Yeah.
I was in journalism school with Aaron Andrews, all of 7 years ago, and one of the reasons she became the personality she is because she was a victim of a peeping Tom back in Gainesville. Apparently, when she was in school, somebody had drilled through a wall or something that was peeping on her, and she sued. And because of that little bit of exposure, notoriety propelled her into. Out of all the journalism students, she was the one who was picked for Fox.
Was that 7 years ago? That doesn't sound right. You think?
No, you know me with numbers. I'm pretty bad. Let's see.
12 years ago. You were 62 when you graduated. You're 72 now.
So 10 years ago.
12 years ago.
10 years ago, anyway, 62, 72, 10 years ago. But anyway, that's how she got propelled to the front of the thing. So I was wondering maybe you could drill a hole in the wall and watch me take a shower or something. Maybe I can get on Fox too, you know?
No comment. No comment.
You don't want to do me a solid?
No comment.
What do you think? I might flip you?
No comment. No comment. So what's new in the world?
I don't know, man.
Trump's still suing everybody?
Yeah, they're getting thrown out left and right, but now it seems like there's some attorney general in Texas wants to sue 5 other states because they didn't vote the same way Texas did. Which is an interesting concept.
And meanwhile, Hunter Biden's going to court.
Yeah, they're going after him for taxes. I don't know. There was so many in the Trump family that were getting investigated for taxes. But when it was going on in Trump, everybody said, I'd just like to have his accountant. I don't hear anybody screaming they'd like to have Hunter Biden's accountant.
Well, if he was making $85,000 a month, I would like to have his paycheck.
Yeah, I'll take one paycheck. One paycheck will do me. I'm not a greedy guy. I'll take 1 month's pay. I'll be happy enough with it. 85,000. But I mean, it's the turmoil that's involved in the whole thing. And regardless of who wins the Senate, and it'd be nice if for me anyway, the way I feel.
Keep your head up, Billy. Keep your head up. We have to see your eyes.
The way I feel, if the Democrats win the Senate, it'd be a good thing. Of course, Republicans don't feel the same way. But the obstructionism is going to be fast and furious. I mean, it's already. I mean, I don't see how anybody's going to reach across the aisle when they won't even acknowledge he won the presidency and he won by 7 million votes.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of closet Biden supporters among the Republicans. There have got to be guys like Mitt Romney, et cetera, that will cross the aisle when they're right. There got to be a latter-day John McCain's, a lot of them, or a few of them, to make a difference anyway.
Well, just to get back to some semblance of normalcy, I think is kind of cool.
That's over.
This idea that but I don't know. The divide is so great, Frank. I don't see how the hell it's ever going to get back to. It looks like we're heading towards at least a paper civil war, anyway, if not an actual civil war. It's as long as people make money on the news. I just don't get the concept that the news has to be a popularity contest. Like it used to be back in the days before Reagan. Everybody had to have equal time, and you weren't to be allowed to be that opinionated. Now opinions sell time. Sell advertising. You shouldn't be allowed to advertise on the news, is what I'm saying.
Interesting comment.
Well, it shouldn't be about making money. The news is supposed to inform the public. And, of course, the more outrageous you are, the more viewers you're going to get. And the more outrageous you are, the more you're going to influence the public.
But if you couldn't advertise on television, that would make the Foxes and the CNNs and the MSNBCs even more prevalent because you would have to go there to advertise. I mean, you're just saying you couldn't advertise on the broadcast networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox.
I think the original deal that the government made with the networks, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're in that business, so you'd know better than me, but I thought the original deal was that for the networks to be able to use our airwaves, and these airwaves belong to the public and not to the television industry, that they had to allow 1 hour a day to inform the public about the news. But now it's become a ratings contest. And of course, outrageousness always makes for ratings.
Absolutely.
So if I say I want to cut Biden's head off or Trump's head off, and I can get somebody to say that on television, well, it's going to get ratings. It's going to get reactions. And that's going to sell advertising. I don't think the news should be allowed to sell advertising. That's what I feel.
Interesting concept. Kathy Griffin tried to cut the president's head off, and look where it left her.
That worked out real well for her, huh? She's in a lot of big demands at comedy clubs all over the nation.
It worked out real well for me, too. I hate that bitch.
Well, yeah, you made it clear, and if these lips could talk, that she wasn't one of your favorites. But she's about as welcome as COVID right now in most comedy clubs.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy who owns a comedy club yesterday, Rick Bronson. He owns the House of Comedy, and he owns about 9 comedy clubs around the country. And we were talking about another subject, but we were on the phone for about 30 minutes. And I was asking him how it's going, and he said, Billy, really, he says, I think that 40% of restaurants are going to be closed by the time this is all over. He says it's going to be Wendy's and McDonald's and drive-thrus and Burger Kings. And if you're not a chain, you're going to be done, because I don't see how people are bouncing back. Yeah, he's got 11 clubs and only one is open right now in Arizona.
And that's Arizona.
Yeah, and that's in Arizona.
Arizona's got warm weather. If he had a chain, 11 chains up in the north, or he would be in big trouble.
Yeah, well, he's got 8 clubs in Canada, and of course they're all closed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got 8 clubs in Canada that they're all closed.
Yeah. So when I was in the bar business, Frank, and the restaurant business, especially the restaurant business, the bar business, you put booze on a shelf, and if you don't sell it, it's no problem. It ain't going anywhere. People will come in tomorrow and drink it, next month and drink it, next year and drink it. It doesn't go bad. But if you're in the restaurant business, I don't see how you can withstand a month and a half closed, 2 months closed, 3 months closed. Never mind what these are doing. I couldn't have made it 2 weeks in the restaurant business if I had to close up shop, because you can't put food on a shelf and it's got to be fresh, it's got to be sold, and you have an enormous staff. With a bar, all you got to have is a bartender. That's it.
Yep.
With a restaurant, you need the dishwashers. You need it costs you so much more to stay open. And then the taxes and the licenses and I like booze.
The taxes and the licenses in the bar business are incredible, though, aren't they? You get taxed 3 times.
3 times, man. Exactly. There's no such thing as a bar owner that's in business who doesn't have 2 sets of books. It just ain't happening. Nobody's legit. And maybe that's why people aren't upset about Biden's kid or about Trump with the accountant scam, because everybody's trying to scam the government. That's the way of life. It's like...
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate with Biden's son, because, he presents himself as being above reproach. And if he allowed his kid to be involved in a directorship of a Russian oligarchy or oil company or something, shame on him, because he should know better, and he should know that his son is only there just because of his name, not because of anything that he's done. So,
I agree with you, but nepotism is a way of life, especially in politics. The Trump family's trading on their names, and certainly since their father became president. But I agree with you about Biden. He should have been more diligent. But I've got 3 kids, Frank. 3. Do you really think I control what they do?
Come on.
I think that he controls what Hunter Biden does.
Do you really?
And Derek, you can chime in if you want.
Yeah, I just think that you guys are for the 70 years that you've been on this earth, I think that you guys are being a little bit
naive.
Yes, about the political system. The Biden family, first of all, there's 5 or 7 people in his family that are receiving money from countries outside of America. It's considered they could possibly be the most corrupt family in the whole political system. So, and if
there's no family more corrupt than the Trumps or the Clintons. So
politics is famously said is the last refuge of a scoundrel, right? I don't think there's anybody clean in politics. Obviously, these people come out making millions and millions of dollars. I think one of the most telling things was during that whole scandal with when they were trying to impeach Trump, when who was it, the ambassador from the Ukraine, or the ambassador sits down and says, they asked him, do you know what quid pro quo means? And he said, yeah, I paid $1 million to get this job. I know exactly what quid pro quo means. That seems to be the way our system is set up now. Ever since Citizens United, dark money can come into the elections, and nobody even has to say where it's coming from. And not just foreign actors. I'm talking about foreign countries, China, Russia. They could be Israel. Money pouring into a candidate, and they don't have to say where it came from. That's absurd.
When did that start happening? During the Reagan era?
Well, after that, that's when the Supreme Court passed Citizens United, right? Citizens United was the was the thing that money it enclosed in that ruling was that corporations are people, and that nobody has to disclose where the money's coming from to influence anybody running for election, which is absurd. I think that's absurd.
It is absurd. It is absurd. Until we get money out of politics, which will never happen.
Never happen.
We're screwed.
And you're definitely right, because we're like right now I think the stat is something like 87 or 88% of all candidates that run, regardless of on what level, whether it's congressional level, local level, or even national level, whoever spends the most money, 87% of them win their elections.
It's an auction.
It's an auction. Exactly right. We're having auctions. We don't have elections.
I mean, how can anybody spend what Biden spent or what Trump spent in order to gain a job that pays $400,000 a year? Doesn't make any sense. It's illogical.
Yes.
No, it's ridiculous. And that's just the way it is. I mean, that's just the way it is with politics in general. And like I said, till we get money out of politics, which will never happen, we're going to have corruption up and down the board.
All right.
Well, I have a question. So
Sure.
you guys have a lot of experience. So what's the solve? So let's not say that it can never happen. What do you think we can do to make it happen? Have you seen?
We can do nothing.
Wow.
Well, I'd like to see the Supreme Court get rid of Citizens United. I think that'd be a start. I mean, somebody else just put an ethics clause. This was today or yesterday. Somebody put an ethics clause. As a matter of fact, it's in the defense bill. The defense bill that Trump threatened to veto. You know the defense bill that they're just passing now?
Yeah. That was a rhetorical question. Yes.
Exactly. Trump threatened to veto, but in there is an ethics clause that says basically that any money that you get during an election has to be shown where you got it from. And that's a start, but I mean, I don't think that'll ever pass.
Term limits are a start too, but that will never pass either, because logically, the only way you can cut money out of it is if nobody has to be reelected. Senators get one 6-year term for no reelection, and but they're not going to vote for that because that's cutting off their nose to spite their face.
Well, there's no way they're going to vote for it because I don't even know what they do. The only time you ever see a full Senate or a full House is when they have celebrities that they're interviewing. It's a baseball scandal or something like that. Other than that, they don't even show up. You ever watch CNN when they have the House in session and there's like 6 people there?
Well, I'll tell you what they do. 60% of their time is spent raising money.
Exactly.
I mean, there's literally a quota number. They must spend, I don't know what the number is, 40, 50, or 60% of the time, but they must log in to raise money 40, 50, or 60% of their working time. Well, that's why they're not in Congress.
And those are the ones that get reelected, the ones that can bring the most money to the party.
And another thing that they could do to make do away with Supreme Court justices for life. Give them a 20-year term, and then they could term off the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court was set up when people were living to 65, 70 years old. It wasn't set up for people to live to 90 or 95 years old. Hell, Kavanaugh's like 50 years old. He'll be on the Supreme Court for 30 or 40 more years. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then there's another case coming up now. There's another question of whether or not Biden's going to try and cram the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, I don't think it's a smart idea. They got 9 justices now. If they try to load it up It'll just go back and forth. What are you going to end up with? 300 justices on the Supreme Court by the time it gets over?
Yeah,
on the road.
I think that the Supreme Court gave Trump such a stunning defeat that they're trying to at least appear to be neutral.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought Roberts was appointed by Bush, correct? But Roberts has, at least to me anyway, seems very aware of his legacy.
Yeah, but it's not. He's not the problem. The 5 conservative justices are.
Well, they're your problem and my problem, but they're not problem for the religious right. Certainly, they're the answer. To them, it's all a question of perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a question of perspective. But you know what? I've had enough of this discussion. Why don't you tell me a tall tale?
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. I'm done with politics too. I don't even know how we got into the subject. We were just talking about it and it came up. Let's see what kind of a tall tale I can tell you.
Well, before you start your tall tale, I just got a couple more questions. Hopefully it's okay. I don't want the producer to get mad.
But when you start producing a paycheck, you can say anything you want.
Agreed.
I didn't hear that. What do you guys think about these monoliths showing up all over the, essentially?
What the hell is going on with that? I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know what's going on with that. Somebody saw one out in the middle of the desert. Now Frank tells me there's one up by me in the mountains.
Well, I think that there's some copycats happening, but for sure, the original ones, there was one in Utah, one in California, and one in Romania.
There's not much of a pattern there. One in California and one in Romania. You're not giving me a lot of work. You're not giving Sherlock Holmes a lot to work with here,
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing here. I got nothing to offer.
Oh, actually, there's one in the UK as well. But the question, I guess, the bigger question is do you guys believe in aliens?
No, because they showed in Pine Mountain the 2 guys that built it. The guy went into it.
The bigger question to me is how much time do these guys have on their hands?
Yeah, well,
they got nothing else to do but to go out and do this.
That's what I mean. They have nothing else to do but go out and do it. They got time on their hands for sure.
But I tell you what, as far as aliens go, they asked Obama when he was pushing his book.
Speaking of aliens.
And they asked Obama, what do you know about UFOs? And you know what he said? With a dead straight face, he's like, I can't talk about it.
Exactly.
I can't talk. Yeah, of course there's aliens. There's got to be. Mathematically, it's practically impossible not to be. There has to be. But when the president of the United States or the former president of the United States looks with a straight face, he says, I can't talk about it. As a matter of fact, it seems to me, during the height of this COVID, the first wave of the COVID anyway, somebody had asked, the government had announced that they had like 35 documented cases of UFOs, and nobody even gave a shit. They said, yeah, okay, there's aliens. What time is the Cheesecake Factory going to open again? You shrugged. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's aliens. But what about the Cheesecake Factory?
You're asking a question that everybody's asking. What time is the Cheesecake Factory open and when?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they're done. I think it's over for them.
I think so.
Yeah, I think if I recall, the Cheesecake Factory actually, I think they're forever closed down.
Now, if a big corporation like that's going under, what do you think is the chances of mom and pop surviving?
Well, I think mom and pop's got a better chance of surviving than a big corporation like Cheesecake Factory.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I just said it. I think that, mom and pop has got the ability to tighten up the reins or get a loan from the government or something. Mom and pop may own their own shop. They may own, they may have in control of a lot of things, whereas the Cheesecake Factory or any big corporation, I think the answer is taxing the rich, the 1%ers, the guys like Facebook, the guys like AT&T, the guys that have got all the money that are paying none of the taxes, let them pay the rate.
When I hear about Make America Great Again, And, I've seen many comedians go out on the road and ask questions. When was America great? When was America great? And they say, oh, it was great during the 1800s. It was great then. And they say, what about slavery? What about misogynism? What about this? What about that? I'm 72 years old. Now, maybe it was because I was a kid. And when I was a kid in the 50s, I thought everything was rosy. I thought life was good. To me, go back to the Eisenhower days, I thought that's what America was, well, first of all, we're the envy of the world, number one, because we had liberated the whole world after World War II, and we didn't really get affected by the war because we weren't bombed or anything else, and we had a tremendous amount of prosperity.
Yeah, but what you're saying doesn't follow because, Johnson freed the slaves in 1963.
What about free?
He signed the civil rights legislation. Did Derek's parents feel free in Mississippi in the 50s?
Nope.
No, not at all. I'm sure, it's a perspective. It's for different people for different things. But you were talking about taxing the rich. At that time in the 50s when Eisenhower was president, the tax rate for the top 1% was 92%.
Yeah, as it should be.
Corporations were paying $3 for every dollar that the individual was paying. Now they pay 30 cents for every dollar you pay.
And they crawl through every loophole they can crawl through.
Without a doubt. And then you got the money offshore, and they're all involved in that. I mean, it's incredible how much money's offshore. Well, and not just offshore, Delaware, which is another thing about Biden. We talk about Biden before and corrupt politicians. Jesus, Biden came out of Delaware. There's a reason that every credit card company in the country came out of Delaware, because they got sweetheart tax breaks, and it was the credit card companies that were charging 27, 28%, and sometimes for people that borrowed money on them. That was championed by Biden. So he ain't no man of the people by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, if we go back to pre-Reagan era, Reagan was the king of trickle-down economics. We're still practicing trickle-down economics long after trickle-down economics has been proven not to work.
Yeah, that's just a bait and switch deal, don't tax the rich because they create the jobs. Well, what's interesting enough, and God, if anybody knows this,
they're not paying any taxes on the jobs they're creating.
Yeah, but if anybody knows this, it should be you. Desilu Productions, right? Desi Arnaz created Desilu because Lucy was making so much money, and they were taxing at 91%, that to reinvest the money and opening Desilu, which created I don't know how many jobs, that was a tax dodge for him.
Right.
Nowadays, when there's no reason to have a tax outlet, they just sit on the money.
Well,
why should they risk their money?
I mean, even I've got a corporation that pays me a salary rather than paying Frank Pace. I got a corporation that pays me for the services of Frank Pace. Then I can write off a lot of stuff that typically I would not be able to write off, like television subscriptions, magazines, newspapers. I can write off all that stuff because of the industry that I'm in.
That's a sweetheart deal. What's the name of your accountant? Do we cheat him in Hal?
Actually, Hal is the name of my accountant. H-A-L. Do we cheat him in Hal? Do we cheat him in Hal?
No, I ain't got no problems like that, Frank. All my money's tied up in cash.
It's good. Still going to the bookie.
Still going to the bookie.
I got another thing for you guys. There's China successfully activated a nuclear-powered artificial sun. Did you guys see that?
A nuclear-powered artificial sun.
Why do you keep doing this, Derek? Why do you keep giving us these topics? I want to talk about football picks. I want to hear Billy's wild stories. Billy wants to ask me some stories, and you keep bringing us back to the sun.
I think you guys should be informed on what's happening.
Yeah, well, we should have started before 70 years old, that's for sure.
Oh man, I'll tell you a couple of drug stories. How about that? I'll tell you a couple of stories about how and why I stopped doing drugs. I firmly believe this. I'm not an advocate of drugs in any stretch of the imagination, because drugs make you stupid. They out and out make you stupid. I was up in Sedona. I don't know if you're familiar with Sedona, but it has the Red Rocks of Sedona. It's up in Arizona. And I was up there with a buddy of mine, and we're sitting in a van. And I had some hashish, So I said, let's smoke a little hash. So we smoked a little hash. And after about 10 minutes, of course, now I'm whacked. And I says to him, hey, so, what'd you think about that hash? He says, I think it was pretty good. Because I just tried to take a picture of that red mountain with my wallet. So I think drugs make you pretty stupid. So I'm not advocating them. And my buddy Shifty. I've always told you stories about Shifty. I was with Shifty one day, I swear to God, and we're smoking weed, we're drinking beers, hanging around bullshitting, and all of a sudden Shifty takes out these 2 pills, puts them on the table, and swallows them. And I said, what the hell are they? He says, these are pills that the psychiatrist prescribed to my wife. She's in an insane asylum.
Oh my God.
I said, wait a second. Your wife's in an insane asylum? How many of those pills does she take? She's only supposed to take 1 a day. I said, you just took 2 of them. He said, yeah, I know. He says, I figured I took 2 of them. So now he was bullshitting away, and he starts to nod. I see him starting to nod. And he takes a few rails of coke, and he puts it on a table, and he snorts them, right? Now he perks up a little bit. Now he's talking like he's going to the electric chair. Blah, 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 blah. So he takes out a Valium, and he pops a Valium. So now I'm sitting there, I'm no angel, but I'm drinking beer, I'm smoking weed, but this guy's doing drugs like he's going to the electric chair, right? Now he takes a bifenamine out, he cracks that open, he puts it on, he snorts that. I said, Shifty, what are you doing? Take it easy. Yeah. Well, I swear to God, Frank, I swear to God, 15 minutes later, his face started swelling up. Like something out of Easter Island, right? I mean, he looked like one of those floats in it's Thanksgiving Day parade, right? He was like, I said, Shifty, holy shit, man! You gotta see your face, right? Now I'm sitting there drinking beer, eating potato chips, and I'm looking, you gotta get an ambulance, we gotta get a doctor. You gotta see your face, holy shit!
You got to see yours. You're foaming at the mouth.
So he jumps up. He runs into the bathroom to look in the mirror, and I hear this scream. Oh, my God, right? Now, this is your brain on drugs. This is the way your brain reacts on drugs. He flies out. He snatches the bag of potato chips off the table. He turns it over, and he says, what the hell do they put in this shit anyway?
That reminds me, the teenagers and the kids in their 20s now are having these drug parties where they go into the bathrooms, they empty the drugs from the bathrooms, and they collect them all in a pile, and they take handfuls of these drugs. Derek, have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, yes. I have.
You guys kidding me? I never heard of that. What do they call it? Suicide?
I can only imagine what they call it. I mean,
how the hell do you eat a whole handful of drugs when you don't know what the hell they are?
I don't know. Derek, can you expand on that a little bit?
It's just they want the random. They don't want to know what feeling they're going to have, so they just grab a bunch of drugs and.
How about death?
Yeah, I mean that's crazy.
Death.
I'll tell you that I did that once. I really did. I ate a handful of drugs. I had no idea what I was eating. No, actually, I did it twice.
Yeah, we'll stick around a couple more times. You did it. Also.
Once I was in a bar and I was nodding, and I says to the bartender, "You got anything to keep me awake, man? You got anything to keep me awake?" He says, "Yeah, Bill, take this," and he hands me a pill, and I ate it. And I says, "What was that anyway?" He says, "I don't know. I found it." That was once. was on a plane, right? And I'm going to Vegas. And the guy I'm going to Vegas with was Crazy Steve, my buddy Crazy Steve, right?
Bill,
My,
do this right quick.
Yeah.
Do this.
Do what?
You're foaming at the mouth. He's trying to be subtle. Just say it. You're foaming at the mouth.
Let me get some water. Hey, hand me some water. What's in this water? What's in this water? So I was going to Vegas with my buddy Crazy Steve. Now, if I call him Crazy Steve,
Are you a mountaineer? I mean, do you also drink out of jugs, out of mason
I
jars?
got one big apothecary jar here. It's huge. I need a big glass for a big mouth. So I'm going with Crazy. Now, if I call this guy Crazy Steve, you can only imagine what this guy's like, right? I mean, because I was a lunatic in my day, and this guy's completely off the wall. So he was betting with this big bookmaker named Dennis from Brooklyn. And this guy would take 20, 30 dimes, $30,000 on a phone call, no problem. Because Steve used to bet like that because he was Crazy Steve. He used to bet 20, 30,000 a game. So this guy tells Steve, look, the Final Four's next week. Come on out to Vegas. Take anybody you want with you. Everything's on me. Everything. Rooms, food, anything you want, drinks. Just sign my name. I get everything comped. Because this guy would, I swear to God, this guy would go to the bathroom to take a piss and bet $10,000 on a crap table on his way into the bathroom. You know, he was like a lunatic. Because the guy was worth plenty of money because he was a gambler. But of course, gamblers, when they go on vacation, they're going to go to Vegas because they gamble. That's what they do. It's like a drug addict. You know, he's not going to go to the islands and stop taking drugs. Anyway, he thinks I'm going to babysit him, right? He thinks he's going to take me to Vegas with him, and I'm going to keep him in line. I said, there's no way I'm going to Vegas with Crazy Steve. I said, screw this. Let me shift it right away. So I go out that night before the plane ride. We're supposed to leave at 7:30 from upstate New York, the airport. And I get drunk. I'm out till 5:30 in the morning. I mean, I'm paralyzed. Now I go home, I pass out on my couch. I got the phone set to wake me up at 7:30 to get to the airport. I wake up and I'm fucking still stewed. I grab a cab. I get to the airport. I pull myself out of the cab and I'm like, like I'm talking like the Polish army just walked in my mouth last night without socks on. You know, I'm like, I said, I got to get a drink, man. I got to get. He says, holy shit, man. He says, you're a fucking mess. He said, how the fuck did you get drunk so early? I said, I'm still drunk from last night. I just, you know, I got to get a drink. He said, nah, we're late. We got to get on a plane. So we get on a plane. I tell the stewardess, sweetheart, when can I get a drink? She goes, as soon as we're in the air, I'll get you a drink. I says, great. So she comes by. I says, give us 4 screwdrivers, right? I says, you know, I might not see you for a bit. Give me 4 bottles of vodka and some orange juice. And Steve says, good idea. Give me 4 too. So I start pounding screwdrivers because I figure the sugar in the booze will keep me awake. But I'm a total mess. Right now it's like 8:30 in the morning. We're airborne. And the plane is full of old women, right? They're all going to Vegas. At 8:30 in the morning for their big chance. Now I'm in the back and I'm a mess. I'm laughing. I got the call going on. And all the old women are turning around and they're pointing at me like, what the, you know, stop it. Like that. So I start going, I'm super obnoxious. I'm so obnoxious that even Crazy Steve can't handle it, right? So Crazy Steve gets up and he starts chatting up the stewardesses. And he tells the stewardesses that we're 2 big gangsters on our way to Vegas with an attache case full of money to bet on the Final Four, right? Because we got, so he's told them all this bullshit. Meanwhile, I'm laughing, drinking. This is going on for about 2.5 hours. Now I'm completely a mess again. I mean, I'm destroyed. And all of a sudden, I look up through these bleary eyes, and there's this guy in front of me. I swear to God, the guy must have weighed 300 pounds. He was as big as a beer truck, right? Right out of Central Casting. Like, he looked like a Hell's Angel. Like, he's got the leather. He's got shit through his nose. He's got shit through his ears. A monster. So I says to Steve, I said, hey, man, I think, Steve, I think we're going to have a beef, right? I think we're going to have a beef. And this guy says to me, he goes, you guys sound like you're having a lot of fun. He goes, here's my contribution. And he hands me about 6 pills. Well, I look down, I see all the different colors. He goes, yeah, laughing boy. He goes, have some of these. So I throw the whole thing in my mouth, not an idea what's in them, and I swallow it down with a screwdriver. I wake up about half an hour before game time, about 8:30 at night in the hotel room. No idea how I got there. Just flabbergasted. I had no idea what happened, where I was, whatever. I said, oh, shit, the game. 9 o'clock. I got to go down. The game start, the Final Four, the championship game. I go down to see the Final Four. Steve is sitting at the bar with the two stewardesses. With the two stewardesses. And I walk in. I says, what the fuck happened? What happened? And the stewardess says, oh, you almost got us fired. We couldn't wake you up. You know, you were a mess. We had to take you off the plane in a wheelchair. I says, in a wheelchair. I said to Steve, how'd you get? Oh, I had to drag you through the lobby. He goes, I had to get the cab driver to help me. He goes, to get you up into the room. So I said, oh man, I was a mess. So I says, okay. I says, what's the deal with this sign for food? He goes, just sign, Dennis's name to everything. No problem. Tell him what room you're in. Sign his name. I said, where's this guy, honey? You want to get something to eat? I think the two stewardesses, we go to. I said, what the hell are you doing here with this idiot anyway? He says, and if you took me off the plane in a wheelchair, why would you come to me this later on in Vegas? She said, well, you were a lot of fun before you passed out. She said, So I take him to a steakhouse. I get a bottle of cognac, wine. The whole bill comes to like $1,200, right? I'm signing Dennis's name, no problem. We're there for about 3 hours. Steaks, the whole 9 yards. Soup to nuts. I said, come on, girls, let's go find Steve. We'll go back into the casino. I take the two girls. I go walking back into the casino, and there's two security guards with guns drawn, and I got them pointed at Steve. Crazy Steve. I said, whoops. I said, never mind, girls. Back to the room. I said, we don't want to get involved in this. Maybe 180 and back to the room. So that's another time I ate a bunch of pills not knowing what they are.
Can you imagine those two flight attendants were so hard up that they were going with Crazy Steve and a passed out you?
I was charming, Frank, before I passed out. Absolutely charming. All the old women on the flight thought I was charming. Yeah, shut up, you old lady. Totally obnoxious.
Well,
and there you have it, Derek. Now, wasn't that a nice story from Billy?
That's why you shouldn't take pills without knowing what's in them. That's why.
Well, that's
You'll end up with two stewardesses in a hotel room and a free meal for $1,100.
Well, now we know why they put him in a bathtub. You started that trend.
He did. So, you want to talk about your pick this week? Your pick of the week?
You know, I didn't even look so far this week. Let me pull something up real quick. If I touch this, will it upset me? No, I can go Google, right?
Yeah, you're all right.
All right, let me see who's playing.
You guys want me to pull it up? Are you okay? You're on your
All
computer.
I got to see is the opening lines.
Derek, we can talk about.
Yeah, I was paying attention to me anyway. What am I, 6 and 7 now? 5 and 7?
Yeah, 6 and 7, something like that.
There works. So why don't you use?
Do you even know who's playing this week?
I'm going to find out right now. Okay.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
I can't.
Okay. You can't see it.
Derek, pick. You know what? Well, Billy's looking. Why don't you pick one out for me, Derek?
Throw him a game.
Throw him a game, Derek. Throw me a game. Just the first one you see.
All right, great. Okay, Houston Texans against the Chicago Bears.
Where are they playing?
I think they're playing in Texas. So
We're playing in Chicago. Chicago.
I hate both those teams.
Okay.
I don't like either of those teams. Shit. They're playing in Chicago, cold weather.
Houston is 1.5. 1.5 over Chicago.
Yeah, I'm going to bet on the cold. If they're playing in Chicago, I'm going to bet on Chicago because Houston's a warm weather team. They're traveling. I'm going to bet on Chicago. The last time I bet on Chicago, I lost. So
They owe you.
They owe me. I'm 7-4 now. I'm 7-4.
7-4. Guru.
Yeah, but I was 7-3. Now I'm 7-4.
Well,
Well,
that's every right a little really much for you.
I'm going to bet Chicago. I'm going to pick Chicago. I'm not going to bet on either of them, but I'm going to pick Chicago.
All right, I'm going to take Carolina is home against Denver
Oh, God. Why would you pick that game?
because I like the way the line moved. The line moved away from where I showed it. It opened up at 4, and it went down to 3.5. So I'm going to take Denver plus 3.5.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I know. I'm a dog guy.
Yeah,
Dog guy afternoon.
no. Loser.
You have to realize that there's no one out there listening to me anyway. Why not be Denver? I mean, nobody's going to lose their rent on me.
All right. So
So
you got Denver and I got Chicago. I got
you
Chicago.
like the Bears.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now.
What do you want 2 picks? Should we apologize to our audience because of the
No, I'm not apologizing for being 7-4. I maybe apologize for this podcast we're putting out there.
apologize for foaming at the mouth?
Apologize for you foaming at the mouth, Mr. Corners. I apologize for Billy drinking out of a jug.
The apothecary jar. Let's say it right.
Apothecary jar.
I'm an old timer.
Yeah. So, what else you want to talk about?
Well, who's our next guest? Armin, right?
Yeah, we already talked about him.
All right, I just wanted to make sure he's our next guest, right?
Yeah, the book's doing great. There's still a lot of time to get the book for Christmas, but we still, are selling pretty well, surprisingly well. We got the Pump Brothers up on video today.
I want to meet those 2 guys, man. Those guys look like some trip. I swear to God.
They are some trip. I'll
Now
send
the
you.
Pump Brothers. Tell our audience a little something about the Pump Brothers.
I can't.
What do you mean?
I have to think before I explain them.
Well, you know what? I always saw them. They look like 2 guys I would meet in a bar in Brooklyn, and they're very influential in college basketball, from what I understand. Is that correct?
They are very influential in college basketball, and they're very influential in the cancer fundraising scheme of things. They know they're 2 Jewish twin brothers, red-haired Jewish twin brothers. The Jewish twins. They're about 5'6", and they hang around with every famous black athlete in the world.
So, I mean,
Sphere influences terrifically.
they influence college basketball. Do they influence the game itself or the gambling side of it?
No, they don't. They have nothing to do with gambling. They have nothing to
They
do.
have nothing to do with gambling.
No, they have nothing to do with gambling at all.
Uh-huh.
I unequivocally say that. So strike that from your mind. They have nothing to do with gambling at all.
Oh.
That's why I said we should table this conversation.
So they don't say anything about lines or anything like that. They have nothing to do with that.
They have nothing to do with lines at all. But
And is it only college hoop, or is it pros and sports in general, or just college hoop?
they know every black athlete known to man, from Jim Brown to.
If I don't piss Derek off, so we're talking about 90% of the athletes out there.
Yeah, well, but we're also talking about Sandy Koufax, Jerry West, right down to the next kid who's at Sierra Canyon High School, and they insert some influence over where that kid goes to college. So, but they can influence that as well.
Wow.
But really, they're fundraisers. They raised almost $10 million for a cancer foundation for the Northridge Hospital, and that's a big deal.
That's pretty remarkable. $10 million for a cause like that. That's fantastic.
Yep. And they have a big fundraiser every year. They have 1,000 people at the black tie fundraiser. Everybody's there from Mike Tyson to.
Now, if I can persuade these two guys to have a fundraiser for me, can I use your accountant?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Derek just went away on my monitor, so I can't see Derek. So
Why you're in the business? You got to say fade in, fade out. You just fade
in,
out.
fade in, fade out. Um, so where do we go from here? Do you have? Well, you've already told me enough of a talk.
One of the drug stories to keep you going for a while. Well, the idea of taking a whole load of pills and not knowing what's in it, that's anathema to me. I can't imagine that kids would do that. They got to be completely out of their minds.
So do you want to ask me anything, Billy?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to ask you a few things. What do I want to ask you? Let's see.
He drinks while he thinks.
Well, I'm drinking and thinking. That's a bad thing about when you stop drinking. When you stop drinking alcohol, you start thinking. That's the bad thing about it. So in these days of COVID.
I don't want to talk about COVID.
All right.
I don't want to talk about COVID at all.
All right. I was going to talk about your occupation and how it affected you, but
no, I don't want to talk about what I used to do.
Well, you know, I thought talking about. Let me talk to our audience about this. Since I was involved with Lips and writing it with you, I know the answer. But why don't you tell the people out there how a guy who wasn't a producer ended up becoming a producer? I mean, that wasn't your forte. It wasn't something you wanted to do all your life. It wasn't something that you knew you were going to fall into. How did that happen?
It just, I sort of opened every door that I heard a knock, I opened, and it led me to producing. I was at an advertising agency in San Diego, and I was trying to get racquetball on television. There was only 3 networks at the time: ABC, CBS, NBC, and none of them wanted to be on. Nobody wanted to broadcast racquetball because you couldn't see the ball. They had a point. You couldn't see the ball.
Is that why? Is that right? When you're watching it on television, you can't see the ball. I never even thought about that.
You can't see the ball, and you play on 4 walls, and 3 of them are concrete. So where's the viewing going to come from? But then,
did you play racquetball?
I played at it.
No, but I mean, like the reason, the impetus to you wanting to have this on television was because.
Oh no, it was purely a commercial venture. Was because I was representing Echelon, the number 1 racquetball company at the time, and they wanted racquetball on the TV. Okay. They figured if more people can see it, more people would buy their product. That was correct. So in 1979, I was going around to New York, and I returned to San Diego where my office was, and I got a call from a fellow who was starting a new network. And he said, I want to put racquetball on the air. Can I come out and see you? So I said, sure, you can come out and see me. He came out and saw me with his partner then, and it was a man by the name of Bill Rasmussen, who was forming a network for a 24-hour sports network called the Entertainment, Sports, and Programming Network. And I said, what the hell is this? Who the hell's going to watch, sports for 24 hours? And it turned out to be ESPN. And that's how I got my start, producing racquetball for ESPN. And he said, if you produce it, I'll air it. So we got $25,000 to produce it, and it aired for a lot of years on ESPN. And it was self-perpetuating because then another one of my clients, which was Speedo, we were developing a United States triathlon series, short course triathlon series for racquetball, for Speedo, for swimwear. Speedo's a major manufacturer of swimwear, and they wanted to get triathlon on the air because using the thought that the more people could see it, the more people would want to do that. And we got triathlon, short course triathlon on the air in like 1982, and that ultimately led to triathlon, short course triathlon becoming an Olympic sport. So we started that as well.
So really, you owe being a producer and being successful to being flexible.
Yeah. Yes. And Armin, our next week's guest, was my assistant at the Phillips organization in San Diego, and he was an integral part of the triathlon series and the racquetball series being on television. So we go way back.
Way
We
back.
did.
Wow.
We go back.
Now, you wouldn't have any pictures handy of you modeling one of those Speedos, would you?
I had never even been in a Speedo. But I can picture you in a Speedo, and I'm sure you worn a Speedo.
No, I want to get one of those ball bags that they walk around the beaches with. I'd rock one of those babies. You know what do they call them?
It wouldn't stay up. You lose it.
Yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Get her-
stay up because then I'd lose it.
Get her on camera. Get her on camera. Get her on camera.
No, she doesn't want to go on camera. Tell me, so what do they call those things? A sock? What do they call those things?
It's a banana hammock.
A banana.
Banana hammock. Yeah. Yours would be a half a banana hammock.
Oh, I would rock that banana hammock, man. With the baggy balls and the bald head. Let me just walk around Miami Beach with that banana hammock. I'd rock it, man. Rock it.
You look like the kind of guy that would wear it. You look like the kind of guys that are in Brazil, that I see in Brazil every day wearing those Speedos.
Hey, they wear them in Europe too. So he's from.
Yep. Doesn't make it right.
It would be good promo for the show.
It would be good promo if you wore one.
No, no.
But
no.
not me.
We're breaking up.
All right. Well, if we're breaking up, we better sign
Yeah,
up.
I can't hear what you guys. I can't even hear when you're breaking my balls. And if I can't hear you breaking my balls, what's the sense?
It's time to sign off. But we'll be back next week, hopefully with our guest Armin Katayan. Keep buying the book. Billy, you're going to have your work cut out for you getting people to watch this episode. But good luck, my friend. Good luck.
Good luck, my buddies. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you in church.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Dennis.
Pleasure.
You betcha.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.